Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I'm your host Faisal Raza Khan and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, history suggests that Pakistani women has made lots of contributions for nation building, particularly when we are talking about bringing up the family, balancing the society and even country's development. Right from Pakistan movement in every field like politics, military, health, education, justice system, human rights, art, culture, sports, name it. In every field, Pakistani women was always at the forefront. We remember the iconic figure of Pakistan movement, Mohtarma Fatima Jinnah Rahmatullah. She was the sister of our founding father, Pakistan's founding father, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. She was always stood shoulder to shoulder with her brother. And Pakistan movement also named lots of iconic women who contributed, like Rana Liaquat Ali Khan and lots of others. In today's contemporary Pakistan, we have the great names like the first ever Prime Minister of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto Saeed. Along with her, Arfa Karim, then Asma Jahangir, Mem Ruth Faw, Malala Yousafzai, Flying Officer Mariam Mukhtar Shahid, and lots of others. Due to their sacrifices, struggle, and extreme hardships, Pakistan is what it is today. But we have made lots of progress when it comes to the women's rights, their social stature, and to bring them into the mainstream development of the country. But the numerous challenges still exist. Actually, these challenges are hindering their actual empowerment and participation in the country's development. Women who worked actually tirelessly behind the scenes without any reward or recognition, but their role is immense. They are half of the Pakistan's population and still fighting for their rights, particularly when it comes to the economy or the business environment or the commerce or the daily life. They are facing harassment, abuse and violence of different kinds. We'll discuss the importance of education, economic empowerment and the legal protection available to the women and what we have to do more in that to protect our women to have real-time prosperity and development in the country. To discuss this very important topic, we have in our studios Ms. Fajer Rabia Pasha. She is Girls' Right activist and Executive Director of Pakistan Alliance for Girls' Education page. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your presence here.
Thank you.
We have Advocate Waiza Rafique. She is human rights activist. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your presence in the studios. And online joining us, Ms. Qurat-ul-Ain. She is the Vice President of Federation of Pakistan Chambers of Commerce and Industries, FPCCI, and she is right now in Turkey. So we are really thankful to her to join us. My first question to you, Ma'am Fajer. What about the most prevalent forms of violence, including domestic abuse, with 4,775 reported cases, followed by the rape and gang rape, unfortunately, which accounted for 2,297 cases, and murders, totaling 1,033 incidents only during 2024. 27% of the women facing home violence, while Human Rights Ministry states that in the last 3 years, 63,000, it's an enormous figure, 63,000 cases of violence against women were reported, unfortunately. Most never come to the light. So how do you see this grave issue of violence against women?
So thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So first of all, the numbers you're stating, they're already really, really horrific. And but we got to remember that this could be actually at a very, very high level, because as you know, as per our culture, most cases do not get reported, especially when it comes to domestic violence. They never get reported. It, you know, it only gets reported in very, very extreme cases, or when we look at sexual abuse cases, we only hear about cases once a death has taken place, unfortunately, or you know, it you know, becomes a crime. It comes to police attention. So you know, when you're looking at violence against women, it really shows. I see how the society is working at the moment. And on one side, and I really believe at the government level, at policy level, there's a lot of push towards women engagement, women inclusion in education, in work, etc., everything. But when you're looking at society level, then you see that that acceptance is not there. And a lot of work has to be done. You know, when you look at policy, you make a policy, you bring it in, but then work has to be done with the society itself, with the communities, to raise awareness, to engage people, to make them understand that women also have a right to live.
Definitely,
women also have a right to do what they aspire to do, just like men would like to do. So all of that work also has to be done. So it's a transition, actually. You see, we have to be very, very careful in terms of how we transit into a more equal society, more peaceful society, and it can't happen unless at policy level we can understand that there needs to be holistic planning.
If everyone, if each and everyone feels that every other individual has the right to live, I think so that tolerance, when that tolerance comes, there would be a stability in our society and all that.
There comes a huge role of our ulamas.
No doubt, no doubt.
Because religiously, you know, violence against women, I mean, when we, in every shape and
actually
form,
every prominent figure
leader,
or the community, everyone has to play their
absolutely everybody has to be engaged on that women empowerment agenda, which starts from education, you know, and we talked about, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it more in detail later. But you know, it needs to start, you know, step by step. We look at, you know, you look at the whole journey. You look at, you know, where women need support, where girls need support. We're talking about awareness of girls and women as well about their issue, their legal rights, what the Constitution says. Our Constitution is great. We see we have so much laws in place to protect women, actually.
But the community leaders must have to take the first step, because they are the one who can bring lots of people together.
Absolutely.
Waiza, according to the UN Population Fund in Pakistan, 28% of the women aged 15 to 49 have experienced physical violence, 6% the sexual violence, 34% of the married women have experienced spousal physical or emotional violence. The most unfortunate is that 56% have experienced any type of physical or the sexual violence, but haven't sought any sort of a help or never informed anybody about that. So how do you see this type of situation? Either it's because of illiteracy, either it's because of unawareness, or what's the cause behind, or societal or traditional matters comes first and then, or might be the religious matters. So those comes first and the woman is always behind.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak at this very important topic. I think there's no single reason behind this. The reasons are multiple, and when I say multiple, each of those multiple reasons is multi-layered as well. So there's no single layer to one reason also. So we have to be very, very particular, very detailed when we analyze the causes of violence and causes of non-reporting. You mentioned illiteracy, partly yes, but I have seen many literate women, many financially empowered women, many women who have the voice and who have the privilege to talk about it, remaining silent about such issues. So yes, cultural barriers do play a role. Illiteracy, lack of awareness also plays a role. Religion, I doubt, because the religion never supports violence.
Never.
So I doubt that if religion can be put as one of the
unfortunately, religion never supports, but some of the segments in the society, they always take cover of the religion, and they do it.
Yes, yes, but that's because of different interpretations and using the idea of religion in a very political manner. So that's a different debate altogether.
Obviously.
But when we get into the violence thing, I think there one very important reason that I would like to mention here at this platform is the psychological reasons, our mental health issues. So there are many mental health issues that hold people from expressing, that hold people from talking about abuse, talking about violence. So that is why, I mean, constantly taking violence is also not normal.
Might be because they feel more insecure in that sense, that if they express, they would be more insecure rather than to be just one incident.
Perhaps, maybe, you know, somebody who's an expert on this can get, into more detail about it, but that is something that we need to really look at when we talk about violence against women, because it's not an issue that is popping up in silos. It has multi-dimensional, it is a multi-dimensional issues, and it has various, aspects to
So,
look at.
Waiza, in Pakistan, lots of laws actually enacted to protect women. Then why women deprived of justice and protection from violence? Is it because of the weak enforcement, implementation, lack of awareness among law enforcement officials and the judicial authorities about provisions of these laws? Well, that's why law actually often exploited by the perpetrators to evade justice, and most women opt silence, rather reporting the abuse because of the fear of retribution, might be the societal stigma, or some kind of distrust into the judicial system. Is it like that?
I think all of the reasons, if I may call them, that you have pointed out, do factor in when we talk about lack of enforcement. Problems in implementation are serious issues. We do have certain very good legislation in field, but when we talk about implementation, we have serious barriers and challenges, which is why they're not implemented. So on paper, the law exists, but in society, it does not. So we need to bridge this gap, and we have to really work from the implementation perspective as well.
Because we have the Pakistan Penal Code 2004 amendment, that the Women Protection Law in 2006, then amendments to the Criminal Law, Criminal Justice Law Act 2016, then Domestic Violence Prevention and Protection Act 2020, so on. There are lots of laws there, and to my understanding, these are adequate. But unfortunately, the implementation is, enforcement is the issue, and most of the times we haven't seen that even the prosecution knows that how to handle these cases, and even sometime investigation is flawed on that aspect as well.
Most of the times, actually, when it comes to collection of evidence, presenting that evidence in the court, and so many other procedural defects that we do have in our criminal justice system and in our civil justice frameworks as well. Above all these laws that you have just mentioned, we have another law, which is the Constitution of Pakistan, which is the primary law, and it talks about equality. It talks about no discrimination on the basis of gender. So we do have all these things in place, but obviously all of these legal provisions and legislation has to be implemented by whom? By these people, and on whom? On these people. So
definitely.
The sensitivity, the sense of awareness, the sense of reason when it comes to implementation of these laws is very, very important. So it's not just that we keep writing laws on paper. It's high time that we get into the society, engage with people from grassroots level, engage with children, and try to bring change by changing the mindsets, by changing them psychologically, by improving them in terms of mental health, by improving them in terms of their social sense, because on paper these laws will keep existing.
Very important point, Fajer. Do you not think that these things must have to be there in schools? You must have some kind of curriculum or the chapters into your curriculum as well, and teach our children, give them the lessons that how to live in this society and how to
Even one thing that I strongly advocate for is the fact that in our context, for example, we should not see education as simple as access to classroom and learning to read and write and be, but it needs to be more holistic in the schools.
Definitely.
So starting from having a very holistic curriculum, which includes for both girls and boys, right? Because boys at the same time, see, when you're looking at the whole issue, you're looking at government role and then you're looking at the society role.
Obviously,
right? So
you're
when you're looking at the society, this is where education comes in, right? So you have to educate every single child in terms of the rights.
Although there are lots of lessons learned from China.
Yes,
but in that sense,
absolutely.
we have to learn another lesson from China because first 3 to 4 years of any girl or boy in a school, they teach them how to live in this world.
Absolutely.
And what are your responsibilities and what are your rights actually?
Absolutely, because you see, education should be building the foundation of a child.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And this is where your curriculum needs to be much more holistic. And when we're talking about, for example, when we're talking, if you're in a classroom, the teacher who plays a very important role should be trained very well to start with, and their mindset also needs changing. But they're the ones who should be teaching the children in terms of how the society should look like.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And what peace means, what women right means, what their, what everybody's right means, what tolerance means. These are the things that needs to come from the school.
Definitely.
Now, given Pakistan, for example, we have such a huge illiteracy rate, right? So when you're looking at that, that means that a lot of children who are coming to school now, their parents have never been to school.
Ms. Qurat-ul-Ain is anxiously actually waiting online, so we have to go there. Ms. Qurat-ul-Ain, what about 49.2% of the female population of Pakistan, as according to the World Bank, only 22.91% of women turned out to be the active part in the labor force. That's one of the lowest globally and even regionally, compared to 84.79% of the men. For example, only less than 2% of the women make up in Pakistan's police force, while South Asia's female labor force participation rate is 32%, is well below also from 54% of the average in emerging markets and the developing countries. But 34% is also huge when it comes to Pakistan. That is only 22.91%.
Thank you very much, Faisal sir. So basically, the problem with the Pakistani labor participation is about the social and cultural barriers which do exist in our society. And there is always a family expectation which is being related to the women. The lot of advocacy even and making the things available for the women, still we are lacking a lot of safe spaces for the women when it comes towards the working environment. There is a limited access to education and skills when it comes to the girls. And even it is a limited access to the girls, even in a very, you can say in a business environment. I would like to share an example that whenever we were sitting in the chamber, I always listened from my colleagues that my son is graduating and we are going to open a unit for him. He will be joining that as CEO and he will be the director of that unit. And I always ask them that, what about the girls? So what about your daughter? And they say, oh, she will be getting married and her husband would be looking after that particular area. So I always used to tell them that if you are not going to take care of her, how her husband is going to take care of her as well. So it's a social cultural barrier in Pakistan where families less invest in girls. Either it's come towards the education and skill, either it comes towards the business perspective. And at the same time, when we look towards the workplaces, the environment is not conducive for the girls. There are a lot of challenges, the safety issues, the harassment issues, then a safe transportation for the women to be provided from their home toward their workplaces. And at the same time, the girls who are married are also having the family challenges.
Here the question arises, Ma'am Qurat-ul-Ain, that Pakistan has half of the female population. So why not to educate, develop the skills, capacity, empower young girls by evolving a national program? Like if I have in mind Learn to Earn Pakistan.
Yeah.
Just in last year in 2024, I have an example that Pakistan Software Export Board launched its first ever Women's Software Technology Park at the Women's University Bagh Azad Kashmir, supporting over 2,800 women entrepreneurs through various programs. So why not, there must have to, actually I am a bit differ on that aspect that solely for the woman, but it's a huge step taken by the Pakistan Software Export Board. So why not such steps across Pakistan? And we have to just give example, because I have seen lots of talented girls in schools, colleges, universities. They want to do, they have lots of dreams. Why not we help them to realize all those?
First up, the thing is that we need to have the policy interventions. That is very much important. This Learn to Earn program is definitely very commendable, but it has to be spread on national level, because this Pakistan Software Export Board is planning to have the women's software technology parks where these girls can be trained and they can be.
This program is not started by the Pakistan Export Board, but actually Software Export Board. It is just a term I have coined, that Learn to Earn for Pakistan. So it's kind of such programs for girls. I think so. They must have to participate in the national development and economy, because it is inevitable right now. 49.2%. They are the vital part of our population.
Well, that's why we are facing the economical challenges a lot. Whenever we are talking about that Pakistan is facing the economic issue, we always forget one thing, that whenever the half of the population is not participating in the activities, so how Pakistan can become financially viable country. So I was quoting that if Pakistan Software Export Board can develop the technology parks, and over there they can train the women in tech, and they can provide the digital entrepreneurship projects, then it can be a thing where girls can move on. The government is doing the program like SAS program, and they are doing the Kamyab Jawan program, which also offers the loan. But there is need to develop some women-specific loans as well, and to support the women startups, so they can have more structured nationwide approach for them to participate well into this thing. And that's how we can taking our women more motivated towards doing their labor market and business entrepreneurship as well. Because if we're looking towards the entrepreneurship, we find very less women. Still, the ratio is like 8% women are participating in the businesses. So a country with a huge population of 250 million people, if women are not coming up, then this is not healthy. And that's how the Pakistan would be facing more and more economical instability.
Without active participation of our women, no doubt about that. Fajer, due to poverty, insecurity, customs, and lots of other factors, Pakistan has at least 26 million, we were discussing prior to the program as well, 26 million children out of school, although it's a gigantic task really. Have urban-rural educational gap as well, then gender disparities, these are always there in education, remain significant challenge for Pakistan right now. As Pakistan Economic Survey 23-24, the overall literacy rate in Pakistan is depicted as 62.8%. Still, it's very low. 0.5% rise as compared to the last year, 22-23, that is 62.3%. It means, and the budget we have, we know that. With a significant gender gap, a male literacy stands at 73.4%, 0.4% rise from 73% last year, while female literacy is only 51.9%, although it bit improved, 0.9% rise from last year, 51%. But this shows 0.5% more female enrollment in a year than male. Do you think that it's slightly encouraging that some sort of awareness is coming from somewhere?
Look, to be honest, yes, awareness is coming. I mean, we work in rural areas, urban areas, there is awareness there. But the issue becomes the biggest issue, more than culture, more than religion, is access to education.
Yes.
But before I go in all this, you know,
And
going
access
back-
to the quality education.
Access to quality education. But before I go in all of this, I would like to, you know, say that based on our figures and statistics, if we close the gender gap in Pakistan, Pakistan GDP can rise from up to 60%. 60%
Yes.
GDP rise, you know, that's a huge number that we're looking at. And again, it comes back to starting from education, right? And that's the basic first step, that we need to make sure that our girls have access to good quality education in a gender responsive manner. Access to skills development and vocational programs. If I tell you about our figures for Pakistan from our latest report, only 453,000 young people accessed technical and vocational programs across Pakistan.
Only?
453,000.
Okay.
Right? This is the number for 22-23, right? And out of that 453,000, only 153,000 were girls, right?
Okay.
So every step you look at, basically, you see that women and girls are really, really behind. Because naturally, if they don't have education, if they don't have a skill set, that has an impact on their future life, right? Of course, they can't make any economic contribution. It has a huge impact on their domestic lives when you're talking about violence, because women are not financially independent. And one of the reason, again, I mean, one thing that I wanted to mention, that when we're talking about violence, there comes, you know, the cultural aspect is there, of course, because, you know, as per our culture, when a girl is married off, the family would tell her that, you know, your janaza would, you know, will take place from this home and you don't come back, right? So that support system needs to be, it needs to be improved. But at the same time, the government needs to, I believe the government needs to have a full-fledged women empowerment plan, action plan, whatever we want to call that document, that should start from education for girls, that should start from training the teachers in terms of making them understand how important girls' education is as well. Like, for example, a friend was saying that, you know, when families have, you know, business families would prioritize their boys coming into their businesses and girls just have to be married off.
Yes.
It's exactly the same mindset our teachers have. So teachers do not make any intellectual investment in the girls who are even in the school. So we have a huge problem with the girls who are not in the school, but even the ones
Unfortunately,
who are
there is no investment in those teachers who are actually teaching
exactly,
those girls, really.
I mean, I have asked that question to many teachers. Every time I'm visiting a school, I ask that question, what's your plan? How are you, you know, how do you see girls' education? And they say, well,
first of all, the capacity building and the skill development needed to the teachers.
Teachers, you see, teachers, I believe that our teachers can play the most important role in changing the whole society if our teachers are trained.
Your point well taken. Your point well taken. Waiza, in August 2024, the Law and Justice Commission of Pakistan was actually alarmed by the escalated gender-based violence nationwide due to a report titled Unveiling Shadows, an overview of gender-based violence cases 2023, exposed that 81% rise in the backlog of unresolved gender-based violence cases, then fractured criminal justice system. I'm not talking about law, the system, where only 3 to 5% of the conviction rate, while high acquittal rate of 64%. Do you not think that these are the basic reasons why the crimes against women, particularly the rape cases, occur every 2 minutes in Pakistan?
Of course, they are very much the reasons, and they contribute highly when it comes to crimes against women. In addition to that, I think, and the reasons that you have mentioned, I would really like to shed light on the procedural problems of the system, because you pinpointed on the system. So when we talk about the system, who is running the system? The agencies, the government departments, the professionals associated with the system or who are part of the system or who constitute the system, are they sensitive enough? Are they trained enough? Are they qualified enough? because it's not just that we established the institutions and we established a desk, for instance, for helping a certain community, but what if the officer sitting on the desk is not trained? What if your judges are not as sensitive as they should be? Every other day we get
And might be the human resource issue as well.
Of course, human resource issue, and then it also has to do with the intent of the government, because sometimes what happens is that we establish the institutions, we establish these big fancy frameworks to improve the system and to bring reforms, but do we allocate enough funds for those systems to run? Do we allocate enough money so that those frameworks can continue functioning and they are sustainable? So again, as I mentioned while I started this discussion, that the problems are many and there are many layers to these problems as well. So we need to be financially invested as well, not just that we need to be sensitive and know the issue and try to pinpoint it and establish a framework to resolve it, but we need to put in the right amount of money also.
Definitely, you are absolutely right on that, because without funds we can't move even.
Absolutely.
So
And
that
just
is,
to add
that
there,
is
for
definite.
example, you very rightly said, so in terms of budgeting and investment, when we're looking at Pakistan's education budget, is well below 2% at the moment. What
And
do
it's
you
declining with every
it's
declining
declining
actually.
every year. It's
Every year.
declining, and if you're not educating your people, your young people, your women, your girls, how do you?
That's the first and the
First-
foremost basic right
Exactly.
of every child to have education.
Well, that's what our constitution gives it.
Definitely.
Gives the right to,
Yes.
for free
Absolutely.
quality education.
You're right.
Yes.
You're right. Ma'am, Qurat-ul-Ain, how much encouraging that is, that gender gap in financial inclusion when we are talking about has reduced from 47% in 2018 to 34% in 2023, although still we have to work hard on that. So till June 2023, 43% of the adult women have a unique bank account, which is a rapid improvement from 2017-2018, when only 13% of the women had the bank accounts. But this 43% is still low when we compare it with the regional percentage. That is 78% in India right now, 74% in Sri Lanka, and rest of the other countries. We are only Bangladesh 36%, and Nepal has 41%, which is below than us. But overall, in lots of countries, it's huge. So why not either it's because of the inaccessible technologies, internet issues, women don't have the cellular phones, or what's the problem basically, where the problem lies?
Actually, we need to expand the financial literacy. Many times the women are not aware that if they are using the bank accounts, that can be very useful for them. Similarly, we face this challenge when the women are coming for Chamber of Commerce registration. They always say that we have a business, but we don't have any bank account. We are not operating through that. We are a very small business, and we are doing it through our husband or with our sons or family members. So it's very important, even in urban environment, that we have to enhance this advocacy about financial literacy. And in the rural societies, when we are talking about the women who are working in the farms and over there, their needs and other kind of advocacy campaign for rural women. And then we have to simplify the digital banking system, and we need to create the smart wallet systems for them. So when these products are being introduced to the women in the rural areas, or from a little bit less exposed backgrounds, financial backgrounds, they would feel easy to use about that. I encourage that many microfinance schemes of different these mobile phone companies, they are doing well, but we need to enhance more. And I think that gender-specific banking policy must be introduced, and we should make some specifically women-based microfinance schemes in collaboration with fintechs and with the businesses and the startups and the organizations like Federation of Pakistan Chamber of Commerce and Industry should take in board for that.
And also the women chamber, because women chamber is mostly very silent, so that they must have to act as well, because why, by the way, why they are more silent rather than to be active on that front?
Again, the problem is, Faisal Saab, that the women chambers also face a lot of, stability issues. And it's not like the women who are coming to the women chambers are always from the small and medium businesses. And even the women chambers have their financial issues to make them sustainable. And in the government policies, many times it happens that women are not given the right places to be advocated. If I'm talking about Federation of Pakistan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, among 11 office bearers, only one woman is representing all Pakistan. While we are now the 50% of the whole population of Pakistan, so just only one female representing Pakistan. So here we can see that what is the gap existing right now in Pakistan, whether it comes towards training, education, participation, advocacy, policy making. When the women are not coming up, then definitely how we are getting these problems resolved, because the women who
Definitely.
have
You
passed
are
through
absolutely
the
right. Absolutely right. Absolutely right, Qurat-ul-Ain. Fajer, how do you see the early marriages? As according to Pakistan Demographic and Health Survey, 2017-18, because that was the last done, unfortunately. 18.3% of the girls aged 20 to 24, 4.7% of the men as well, boys, were married before the age of 18, and 3.6% were married before the age of 15. That's actually curbing their education, putting their health at risk, well-being and safety as well, including that of they are more anemic than the rest of them.
Yes.
They are malnutritioned.
Yes.
Teen pregnancies are always there, prolonged labor, obstetric fistula, and even death.
Yes.
Unfortunately, and even when we are talking about Pakistan Demographic and Health Survey, it's been 7 years that it's not held.
Yes, and then that also leads to a very high child mortality as well.
Yes, definitely,
So
definitely. That is associated with it.
With this, exactly. So again, you see, it comes back, whatever issue you're going to pick up, it comes back to education, awareness of the communities, engaging the parents.
Yes, it's bouncing back, yes.
And
It
making
is.
them understand that, you know, a girl should not be married off that early. She should complete her education, and she should have the right to do what she wants
Because
to do
that
as
is
well.
that education and awareness is actually the her future protection.
Absolutely, exactly, and because that would lead on to a better society, social circumstances, economic economy for her own financial independence, but for Pakistan as well. So in every way, so early child marriages are absolutely not suggested or proposed at all, because like you said, their health, there's so many if you look at our health statistics, you see girls coming from poorer backgrounds are much more anemic, and they're not ready to carry a child, right? So there's so many things that has negative impact on Pakistan as a whole, and this is where the laws are there again, but implementation is important. People engagement, people awareness, and again I would say the role of ulamas is very, very important. Why I keep saying ulamas? Because ulamas are seen as very influencing figures in every village you will go to. So they, our mosques should become the hub of awareness.
No doubt about
Every
that.
Friday when the Jummah takes place, those Jummahs could be used. I mean, you see, we have those platforms. It's not like we don't have them.
You're
but
right,
the
you're
plan has to be done so the girls are not married off early. And there's another very important point is that, if you look at our population statistics, recent population statistics, which says we are 250 million right now, but it also says that by 2055, we will be double the size.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Which also very much links to early age marriages,
Yes.
right?
You're right.
So-
You're right, because we have run short of time. So, Waiza, how do you see the legal responsibilities of the provinces to discourage child marriages? Sindh took a lead. They raised the marriageable age of females from 16 to 18 by Sindh Child Marriage Restraint Act 2014. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Punjab maintained the age of marriage at 16 years. While Balochistan continues to have the old Child Marriage Restraint Act, although all provinces are doing the same, but only Sindh has amended that. That was the act of 1929. So how do you see, why not 18 years of age?
Well, that's a question, and that's, I think, the question of every member of civil society and every member associated with the segments of government also who are working on this area. But one thing that I can say at this point is that there is work going on along these lines. This is unfortunate that we don't have a uniform marriageable age across the country, but this issue is quite highlighted, and the relevant people are aware of it as well. Unfortunately, the challenges and the barriers are quite strong, I must acknowledge. So that's one thing which is keeping this amendment from, the amendment is not being passed because of certain barriers and challenges. But this issue is something that is being worked upon, and I would really want and hope that this issue is addressed.
Okay, you want to add
I want to just add to what my colleague just mentioned when talking about the education and child marriage. So it is very important to understand that when we talk about child marriage or education or empowerment of women, why do we exclude men from this entire agenda? Men are in the decision-making positions. It's a man in the family who decides when the child is going to be married. It's a man who's sitting at, in government positions most of the times, and in different other, at different other platforms.
But most of the times, men also under influence of the woman, because when it comes to the mothers, the grandmothers, and all that, so they have
actually
the
that
decision-making
patriarchal
power
mindset also sits with our women as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So that is also a major issue, actually.
You are right. You are right.
Yes.
Qurat-ul-Ain, how economic obstacles for women inclusion can be removed? What would be done more to have the business startups, as you have rightly mentioned earlier, entrepreneurship, the microfinance support, access to the financial services and markets, facilitation as well, ease in tax policies for women entrepreneurs, paid maternity leaves, child care options for the women, enabling women to join the workforce, particularly when it comes to women economically empowered to have leadership and decision-making role in the private sector and even the public sector, because we have lots of reports available in which in public sector also there are very squeezed number of women, although they have the particular quota as well.
It's very important that for the entrepreneurship, we should have economic policy which should encourage the women to participate, and there must be 0% microfinance loan for the women. Every time when State Bank of Pakistan announced some schemes for the women, we have seen through Chamber of Commerce that the women face a lot of problem. And when we reported to State Bank, they said that the local bank, we have guarantee the local bank that you can issue that loans, but those local banks are not supporting the women even up to the 1 million of the budget. So 1 million is a very small amount, but a woman can start her business, maybe home-based chefs or some event management, but they are not getting right support. So we already suggested many times to State Bank of Pakistan that they should develop a single help desk for the women in State Bank of Pakistan in different parts. So the women can be entertained from one window operation. And the thing you said, that market linkage, that is a very missing part. So the women definitely need that market linkage support, and the women vendors must be engaged into the small, medium enterprises. It's very important. That's how we can handhold these women to come and participate in the proper business.
Qurat-ul-Ain, very brief and short, because we have run short of time. What urgently required to end the women digital divide, rather digital inclusion of the women, their access to the digital literacy, the technologies, smartphones, laptops, have uninterrupted internet access, digital payments using artificial intelligence, fintech, e-commerce and the data analytics, because these are the today's contemporary requirements and necessities. So how these facilities would be adequately provided to the women so that they could be included into the economic development of the country?
So very important again is about the expand the digital literacy, and the government should have to do the digital training for the women, especially the digital education, and that should be the part of the school curriculum. It should not be going towards the college or technical education. It should be part of the school curriculums. And then these smartphone, laptops, and these digital phones should be making accessible for the women on some subsidized rates. And again, very important point is about the Wi-Fi zones need to be created for the women in the rural areas, because they don't have the access towards those things. So by this, we can encourage the women to participate in the tech, and this can enhance their businesses to do from using the e-commerce
Your point
platform.
well taken. Your point well taken, Qurat-ul-Ain Sahaba. Very short one-liner. That how to tackle the climatic changes when it comes to the women, because they are affected a lot because of these.
Women engagement. I think it starts with engaging with women and understanding how they're being affected. At the moment, we're seeing figures, and the figures are pretty bad again. We've seen how badly it affected women in 2022 floods, right?
Floods, yes.
So it is all about engagement and prioritizing gender responsive response on ground, especially when it comes to humanitarian responses.
Right. Waiza, how women are facing cyber threats, lots of cyber threats, not only the cyber harassment, bullying, lots of things. So how to check legally and give them protection? What mechanisms we have to protect women online?
Okay, so technology facilitated gender-based violence, which is TFGB, harassment online, online and offline both, and crimes through online platforms are very common against women, and I think blackmailing and a lot of other issues arise out of this issue. And some of these cases lead to very serious and heinous crimes, for instance, human trafficking and drug trafficking as well.
Definitely.
So you asked about the mechanism. So we do have PICA, we do have a legal framework on ground. We have a cybercrime circle that works on addressing complaints.
But we have to effectively implement all these rules and regulation and laws. That is the must. Thank you very much. Actually, we are run short of time, so
it's a big topic.
Thank you. Yeah, it is, no doubt about that.
Yes.
Fajer, thank you very much for your presence here in the studios. Thank you very much, Waiza, for your presence, and thank you very much, Qurat-ul-Ain, for sparing time from very hectic schedule you have, might be there in Turkey. So thank you very much for your presence online and your very elaborative, candid views. Viewers, women, half of our population, very important segment of our society. We have to change ourselves, particularly the male-dominated society. We have to change ourselves, particularly when we are talking about the community leaders like teachers, ulama, politicians, and all those who can have the influence, and even media. They can play a very important role when it comes to the women empowerment in every sector of Pakistan. Women must be encouraged to report all those abuse cases or the violence cases against them. That is a must, and law must have to take its due course, and that all the legislations and whatever enacted must have to be implemented on ground, because that is very important. Law must have to take its course, and very stern on that aspect. There must have to be access to the quality education. That is very important, because if we have an educated girl, we have an educated nation. So we have to go according to that. Then the procedural systems must have to be get right, fixed. Along with that, the teaching system, we have to include some of the things on in curriculum regarding the women's rights. Capacity building of the teachers is also very important. When it comes to the GDP, we can grow 60%, more than 60%, if we have the gender equality, and girls must have to be included, the educated girls. Then chambers must have to play a very important role. Women must have to be facilitated when it comes to the startups, the entrepreneurship, software technology parks, specific women loans, and the microfinancing, and banking must have to be changed, and government has to take lead in that formulating, and State Bank of Pakistan can play a very important role. Here is an important point as well: the full-fledged women empowerment national plan, that must have to be there, and according to that plan, at federal and provincial level, and every institution must have to work. We want to see 49.2% of the Pakistani women more empowered, more economically, having freedom and all that, so that Pakistan can grow, Pakistan can prosperous, Pakistan can develop. This is all from today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz Nasr.